is the writer for Access Services had a representative write a letter, and I'm a little nervous. I think something is going to happen because apparently with one of the complaints, it went to Metro, and somebody at Metro told them to find me, and they didn't know who I was, so they went to the CEO with it. So I think we have to address this because it's just been through too many political hands to leave it. But it's the same type of complaints that we've been getting all along. It's about those little bitty cars and the attitude of the drivers, the length of time that you have to wait on the phone, the attitude of the person on the phone. It's just the same stew. So anyway, and I think that's all we talked about except our year-end wrap-up. We talked about that. So, anything else? All right. I think item 6 is Louis Burns, and I'm not seeing him. So,
We can table it, Commissioner?
yes, we can. And we'll move on to item 7, monthly report by Mr. Jess Segovia.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here again. I have a few items I wanted to share, kind of a variety of things. So we are about to begin production on a new fleet of our buses, and they're to be manufactured by a company called New Flyer. We've incorporated many new accessibility features to the design of these new vehicles, and last week we did a kind of preliminary review of that vehicle with our Accessibility Advisory Committee members. So about 7 of them showed up, toured the vehicle, got to test the securement equipment. We have some new equipment that will be installed on those vehicles. They should begin arriving in June, and there will be approximately 550 of them. So a significant number. The securement system itself is called the COD, and the current system requires a 4-point securement for wheelchairs and scooters. Well, scooters, yeah, 4-point securement for wheelchairs and scooters. And this new COD system is a 3-point securement with the design of it actually pulling the device against a kind of a rubber pad against the wall. So it provides the same level of safety as a full 4-point securement, but with 3 points. So what that does is the safety improvement, the time saved in only having to secure it at 3 points instead of 4, and just the overall improvement in the function of the system itself. So kinks in the system, or whether the mechanisms jam, that should be significantly reduced. So we're looking at that as being a significant improvement for those of our riders that do choose securement, which unfortunately is lower than we would like. But the other part of the securement piece is a rear-facing option. So currently, riders who choose securement and who ride are riding forward-facing. Well, with this rear-facing addition, a rider could maneuver themselves into the securement space, back up against a pad, much like a very tall chair pad, and they would be in a front-end collision as safe, unsecured, riding rear-facing against this pad as they would be riding forward-facing, fully secured. So we think that it's going to be a wonderful option for our riders in wheelchairs who do not want securement, yet still want full safety in a collision. They will have the option of riding rear-facing. So we've heard different opinions. Well, I don't want to ride rear-facing. I like to see where I'm going. So there will be still options for the rider. You can still ride forward-facing, of course, and whether they choose securement or not is up to them. But so definitely another improvement to the system. And in particular for scooters, scooters are the devices that tip the most on our vehicles. Just the way they're designed, the seats are very high compared to other wheelchairs, so the center of gravity is higher, therefore the tipping, the ability to tip, the number of scooters tipping is much higher. So the COD system and this rear-facing option in particular will have a belt that can attach around either the armrest or a part of the scooter or wheelchair to prevent the tipping. So definitely a nice addition. I think the other addition that I'll share with you is adding a side-facing flip-up seat beside one of the wheelchair securement spaces. That will be identified specifically for persons with disabilities using walkers, and that's actually a walker securement space as well. So someone with a walker who can fold it up can sit in that side-facing flip-up seat, pull the walker close to them. If they have a walker that cannot fold, or if they're unable to fold it, that flip-up seat can fold up, and now it's a compartmentalized location for their walker. And directly across from that walker securement space are two forward-facing seats that will be identified with blue, kind of the disability blue seating with disability icons noticed or identified on that. So I think I talked a little bit about the elimination or the reduction of competing for securement space and for disability seating on our vehicles. So that's another way that we're doing that. So we're also talking about some options to ensure as much wheelchair securement space as possible, the possibility of locking some of those flip down seats, locking them up so that they're always available for wheelchair or scooter users. So just some of the, probably the highlights of the new design for some of our buses, and everyone really enjoyed it. Daniel was there. Daniel might want to chime in after I'm done. But a great experience, or maybe before I'm done. So we're looking forward to the luncheon. We have a table, and we'll be bringing many of our Accessibility Advisory Committee members and also some staff from the Civil Rights and ADA department. So we're looking forward to that. We are seeking Accessibility Advisory Committee members. We have, I believe full membership is somewhere like 30, and I think we have 18. So we will begin over the next several months leading into the first few months of the year actively looking for Accessibility Advisory Committee members. We want to have an approach, a very broad representation from around the region. So that includes disability types, that includes areas of the region. I don't know if any of you know about our service councils. Metro has a series of service councils. Those service councils represent different parts of the region, so we're looking for representation from all of those regions, ethnicity and cultural representation, etc. So all of those things are high priorities for us. So we have that information posted on our website, and I can forward that application and information to staff as well.
What does that entail?
We have a monthly meeting, and then there are a handful of subcommittees that we ask members to sit on at least one subcommittee. The subcommittees don't meet too often, honestly, but we do meet monthly as an entire board, and there are opportunities on occasion, like the bus tour, for example, to have other involvement and to provide input to staff.
What is the criteria to be on the board?
The criteria is we're really looking for people who are either have disabled experiences themselves or represent a disabled population or populations that are very familiar with the challenges faced by persons with disabilities using fixed route services and ideally metro services. A commitment to the community, a passion for serving, a schedule that will allow them to attend these monthly meetings.
When are the meetings scheduled for?
They are the second Thursday of the month. So we just had one.
I used to be on that board.
I'm sure.
Is that the one that
Ellen Blackman was
yeah.
the chair until
Yep,
recently,
yep.
and Ben Rockwell will
Yep.
be the new chair beginning next month
Good.
for the next year. So
Okay.
it's a great group. We
Well,
bring a
still,
lot of
I'm
issues to
interested.
them.
That's why I was asking. I
Mhm.
think Wendy, you might be interested.
Wonderful. Okay, good.
So I'm interested.
So we'll forward that information to you.
Thank you.
We have a program called Mystery Rider. Is anyone familiar with Mystery Rider? I'm sure Yvonne in the past has presented a little bit of it. It's one of the ways that we observe how our operators are providing service to all of our customers. But a major portion of the Mystery Rider program has to do with making observations with regards to the experience that persons with disabilities have on our vehicles. So there are a number of questions and and a number of criteria and information that the surveyors observe and record. And we have a quarterly report that is generated and posted from the data within the Mystery Rider program. And we call it the wheelchair support. So that particular support is specific to the findings of wheelchair users who were observed by way of the Mystery Rider program. So we recently posted that a couple weeks ago, so I just wanted to bring it to the Commission's attention if you're interested in seeing the results of that particular program. It's not a system-wide report, but specific to Mystery Rider. Mystery Rider is interesting too because if there are any operators that are identified as having problems or issues or lines that might be particularly busy or just whatever it is staff wants to know, they will use the Mystery Rider program and request a special ride. So we can target a particular operator, a particular line, a particular time of day or part of the region, etc. So it's a great program, very helpful to staff. We look through the data regularly to identify trends, and then we try to use the trends that are identified to make modifications to our operator training. So that's really all the information I have for you today. If there's any questions,
Yes,
comments?
I do.
Great.
I think I mentioned to you before the meeting began that I had some complaints that I'm going to ask staff to
Wonderful.
forward those to you so that you can take a look at those.
Okay.
And then also 2 months ago, David Foster came over and he was asking the commission to support access because there was some issue with Metro and some funding or whatever, and I would like to know what happened.
Yes, I believe Access was soliciting support from the community and to attend the Metro board meeting to encourage the board to approve Access's budget. So they did approve Access's budget. There were some maybe follow-up requirements from the board that have to do with an independent audit of Access services, a survey, a customer satisfaction survey, a review of the eligibility criteria being used at the eligibility center, and a few other kind of smaller items.
It sounded a lot more complicated than what he was saying to us. So, I mean, if someone has decided to hold up Access Services funding on customer service issues, you know, I think that sounds like you're headed in the right direction with that, because that's mostly what we get is customer service complaints, and they don't seem to know where to get them. And it seems that from the people that I've talked to that have tried to make their complaints stick, so to speak, they fall on deaf ears. They're not dealt with at all. So I'm glad to see that there's something in place for the writers of Access Services.
Well, I'll talk to the Metro staff person who is responsible for the oversight of the agreement between Metro and Access, and then we'll make sure to address the comments that you have and the complaints. So the board did approve Access's budget. There were these stipulations, the follow-up and assessments. Those are to be completed by the end of October, and the goal is to have the results and recommendations from that audit presented in December to the Metro board. So right now everything's on schedule to meet that December deadline.
In the interim, if we get complaints that Access is ignoring, what do we do with those? Send
Forward them to
you
me.
guys? Okay.
Forward them to me.
Done. Done, done, done. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for that.
I have a couple of questions. The seat that you have for this type of equipment, is it going to be? Yes?
Speak into the microphone.
Oh, sorry, you're right, okay. Okay, my first question is, the seat that you talked about for this type of equipment, is it gonna be available just for us, or is it gonna be for anyone? Because I noticed that people will sit anywhere, and sometimes the driver doesn't say anything, or even though he or she may ask them, they don't get up. So how are you gonna be able, because you only have one, correct?
Yes, one of those flip-up seats.
So how is that gonna be accessible for someone like myself?
Well, one of the things we are doing is rebranding, if you will, how we name these securement or seating areas. So currently on our buses, the flip-up seats, when they're flipped up, they are the wheelchair securement area. Those are now called priority seating for persons with disabilities and seniors. So we are in our new buses with the new design, and we're hoping to be able to retrofit some of the existing buses as well. The area will be called reserved seating for wheelchair customers, or some term like that, but it will be called reserved. So we are hoping that that will further encourage people who should not, or maybe who are not one of those rider groups identified for that particular area. We're hoping they will self-select and move to another area to leave that space open. But we can only
Right.
request that they do that, and we can only hope. So we are going through, we are designing a new operator training module that will be in addition to the training that they receive now, and we are detailing step by step everything the operator is supposed to do when they see a person in a mobility device wanting to board, announcing that someone will be boarding, announcing that if they would please clear the securement area, as it is the only location on the bus where a person in a wheelchair can ride, etc., etc. So we're hoping, with better oversight by the operator, although they can still only request that people move. We cannot mandate that they move.
I was just gonna say that you're using this as a reserved area, but everybody that would perhaps need to use this is not going to be in a wheelchair. So I'm hoping that your drivers and will not get stuck in that, where if
Right.
Commissioner Tehran gets on the bus, he's gonna give her a hard time because she's not in a wheelchair. That happens to us sometimes.
Absolutely. There are a couple issues with that. So the new area will be called reserved for wheelchairs, and then further back in the bus, the first set of forward-facing seats will have the blue seating, and that will be reserved for persons with disabilities and seniors. So we haven't only eliminated where persons with disabilities can sit, but we've also created a new area for them. So in essence, doubled the seating versus the current design.